Butereevu nkwanirizaako nnyo munnange gwa neegaseko olunaku olwaleero ku mukutu The Business Trends Uganda. Erinnya nze Badiru Kigozi, ku kamera ndi n'omwami Ismail Kazibu. Ku ekisanja kino nga kitandika oba ku ntandikwa y'ekisanja kino ng'omukulembeze w'eggwanga alayira yalangirira olutalo ku nguzi era n'awaayo ekisanja kino okubeera nti kyekisanja omutaliimu kwebaka. Mu kkowe eryo olunaku olwaleero Lucy Nakyobe, omuwandiisi wa CABINET era akulira entambuza y'emirimu mu Gavumenti, wamu ne Ramathan Ggoobi, Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, basisinkanye abakulira enzirukanya y'ensimbi ku local government wamu ne bitongole bya Gavumenti byonna. Era wano omukyala Lucy Nakyobe akkaatiriza era n'abategeeza nti ekisanja kino oba omwaka gw'ebyensimbi guno temuliimu kwebaka, era ategeezezza nti awo yenna anaalemerwa okukwata obulungi ensimbi zino wakusinkana obuzibu obw'amaanyi. Era omukyalo ono ategeezezza nti entambuza y'emirimu mu bitongole byonna egenda kuba etunuuliddwa nnyo n'eriisa ejjogi, era ng'omuntu yenna anaalagajjalira ku mulimu wakukajjootoka. Njagala nkugatte ku mukyala Lucy Nakyobe wamu n'omwami Ramathan Ggoobi, Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, ensonga zino nga bazikkaatiriza.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here today, and I thank you for the invitation, PSST. And I feel honored to be the chair of this session. So allow me to emphasize the importance of transparency and integrity in financial management. The fight against corruption remains a national priority. You have heard the President's cries. This Chisanja is a Chisanja for fighting corruption, is a Chisanja for no more sleeping. Leakages, misuse of public funds, inflated procurements, fictitious payments, and conflicts of interest waste these scarce resources, and they also erode the public confidence in government institutions. The public are tired. If you don't know they are tired, I'm speaking for them. And this can be brought to the end by the people in this room. Every accounting officer must therefore strengthen internal controls, enforce accountability within your institutions, and foster a culture of ethical leadership. And I want to ask you a question. Can't we say no to corruption today? Can't we start a new chapter? Can't we say enough is enough? Can I request each one of you to ask your neighbor, why don't we stop corruption today? Why can't we? Because we can. So, effective budget execution is not solely the responsibility of finance officers. It requires teamwork across technical departments, across the procurement units, the internal audit, the planning units, and senior management. And I encourage all accounting officers to strengthen coordination within your institutions and ensure that implementation challenges are identified and resolved early. Monitoring should equally receive greater attention. We must move beyond reporting activities and instead focus on measuring outcomes and the actual impact of government programs on the citizens' lives. It is mandatory for each one of you to get off from your chairs and get to the field to supervise and monitor government programs. So those of you who are fond of being in your chairs, in your pajeros, swinging left and right, the work is in the field. The work is not on your desk. We want to see each one of you going to the field to ensure you supervise what is going there. We need to improve on the recognition and visibility of government programs. And that's why I said every one of you must have a strategic plan, must have service delivery standards, and must have a client charter for your institutions. If there is anybody who doesn't have them by now, then I am going to charge PSST for giving you a budget. Because I said those who don't have it, they have no reason to exist. If you have the money, you must have a plan. Why should they give you money without a plan? And if you are serving government, there must be delivery standards. How would the public demand for what they don't know? What is it you are supplying or you are giving? We need to know so that we can demand, so that we can put you on pressure. So those of you who don't have, and by mistake PSST has given you money, this is going to be the last financial year. Next financial year, we are now starting the budgeting process very soon. If you don't have those documents, work on them. There will be no budget for you because you don't need to exist. You are existing to pay yourselves salaries and allowances and go home. The citizens are not benefiting from you, and therefore we don't need you. I've been talking many times and then I think you are laughing. But now, somebody has come who is not laughing. Some of you are already asking for early retirement. But even if you go early retirement, we shall look you up in your early retirement to answer for your sins. The hospitals, regional referral hospitals, please ensure service delivery. Quality is a must. The public universities, we want quality education. And what is happening to local governments, I want to warn you early, is also coming to the public universities and the hospitals. Missions abroad, PSST. Missions abroad, although they are very far away, they need close monitoring. These missions many times return funds, unutilized funds. So I don't know whether those are the budget games you talk about. You give them too much money in the hope that these funds will come back. So, missions abroad, if you return money, we shall investigate you actually. You need to be investigated. Why should they put too much money in, say, let me say Denmark? Denmark has been given 13 billion for commercial diplomacy. They end up using 5. They return 7 at the end of the financial year. Why wasn't that 7 given to Mlago? You are giving too much money to some institutions that cannot utilize them. Yet there are those institutions that really require this money for the service of our citizens. So whoever returned the money last year, I would believe that this year you cut off that same amount and give them less. So, I am confident that today's deliberations will generate practical recommendations, and this will strengthen the budget implementation throughout this financial year. And I therefore encourage everyone to participate actively, engage candidly, and remain solution-oriented. Let us use this meeting not merely as a reporting exercise, but as an opportunity to reaffirm our shared commitment to efficient, accountable, and citizen-centered public service. And before I conclude, I'd forgotten, I need to talk about one issue, the transfer of common cadre staff within government entities. We all know the provisions of a standing order. The common cadre staff are supposed to be in an entity 3 to 5 years, and then they move on to another entity. But many of you, when they transfer your people, you don't want them to move. When they say this principal accountant has been taken here, you say no, leave my principal accountant. This HR is going here, you say no, don't take my HR. He's still finalizing this, he's still doing this. I am now passing a warning. We are going to transfer all the common cadre staff that have been at a station for 3 years plus, and we don't want any interference. If they say your HR is moving, let the HR move. If they say your accountant is moving, your planner, your economist, your procurement, let them move. You will get others. Everybody needs to work where it is good and where it is bad. That is in terms of financing. I hear some ministries are wet, others are dry. So everybody needs to work in a wet and also work in a dry ministry or entity. Let us not monopolize, because me, I'm in a juicy place, I am supposed to be there permanent. That is wrong. Then they said somebody is so good. Even the good people, let them take that goodness to other ministries. So I'm calling upon you, if you know you're a responsible officer and you have common cadre staff, start moving them. Ministry of Public Service, you know the people should move. President's office, you know the people should move. Ministry of Finance, you know the people should move. And the Ministry of ICT, I think those are the ministries that have common cadre staff. Please ensure that these people move. And if you don't move them, at the end of the year, you will see what marks you will get from me.
The Charter sets out 5 key rules that every accounting officer should internalize to avoid problems and excuses. They are very simple rules. Rule number 1, no budget, no commitment. If you have no budget, please, no expenditure or commitment should be approved. It is not your fault that you don't have a budget. Don't commit government when you don't have a budget in any way. In the past, we've heard that I was under pressure from the Prime Minister. There is a gentleman who lost his accounting role because he said, I signed this agreement because I was directed by the Prime Minister. How can that happen? You don't have a budget. In the local governments there, I've been pressurized by the chairman. Please, a national budget is not run like that. You don't have budget, don't commit government. The Attorney General is aware that going forward, I don't know whether Solicitor General is here, going forward, no more clearance of anything when there is no clear indication of the availability of a budget confirmed by the Ministry of Finance. Rule number 2, no supplementary budgets are going to be accepted beyond the exceptional circumstances. Supplementary expenditure is going to be capped at 3% of the budget and must be used to cure only those unforeseen circumstances, not poor planning. Supplementary budget is not going to cure poor planning or things that ideally should have been in the budget. Those are things which we fail to provide for because the resources are not enough. Then we bring them back as supplementary. What we are going to do, internal reallocations are going to be exhausted first, even for those which we deem to be exceptional. Internal reallocation of the budget. Rule number 3, zero tolerance for domestic arrears. Please, colleagues, don't create any new arrears for the government of Uganda. The bills must be paid within statutory and contractual timelines going forward. If you satisfy rule number 1, there is no way you will create arrears. Because arrears come when you commit, when you don't have a budget. We are going to also discipline ourselves as the Ministry of Finance when it comes to what we have committed on as government to pay. This last financial year, I want to, if there is an accounting officer here who had an outstanding invoice with the Treasury, to raise his or her hand. What we committed to paying, we paid to zero. No invoice remained outstanding with the Republic of Uganda. But there is a problem which you need to cure with your technical staff. When we talk of commitment, is commitment at the expenditure limit level, not commitment at the appropriated budget. Uganda runs a cash budget. When we have not issued an expenditure limit, please don't sign an agreement with anyone. Because that money is not yet assured. We issue expenditure limit when we have analyzed our cash flow and we are sure that we shall be able to find this money. When we fail to find the money at expenditure limit, whoever is in charge of treasury or budgeting will be the one to be answerable. But this tendency of committing because you have an appropriated budget, that one must stop. Tell your accountants, there have been a misunderstanding commitment at what level. I met them, some of them were saying when they pass the budget, they approve the budget, they start to commit government. That should not be the case. Rule number 4, no ready project, no budget. A project must have an approved feasibility study. And this time, costed designs. They must be costed designs. And a credible funding plan before admission into the public investment plan. We have put in place enough gatekeepers to ensure this is adhered to. Sometimes the very people you say I was pressurized to approve this budget, they are the ones who will hold you accountable when you fail on certain grounds. Some of the ongoing investigations in the government, they are because of poor project management. Many of them, I've seen them. where people committed government on projects where they never had a feasibility study, and now they had to change midway the project. They never had designs costed, now they have to change midway. And the ombudsman is saying, you committed a crime. So these rules are to protect you as well as accounting officers. Make sure you don't push for projects where there are no studies. It's a very dangerous road forward. The last rule I would want to talk about here is rule number 5 in our Budget Discipline and Accountability Charter: no wage provision, no recruitment. Recruitment must be on the basis of approved wage provision, a costed recruitment schedule, and most importantly, written clearance from the Ministry of Public Service. And the Ministry of Public Service must not clear anyone without approval of the availability of money, the wage. There has been a problem where almost the wage bill control has broken down. Very recently, we carried out a payroll audit accompanied by a pension and gratuity audit. And the government took up the initiative to provide for the wage shortfalls which were existing in the different entities. Sometimes picking money from those who had excess wage. But we created new money to the tune of over 350 billion shillings. And we cured the wage problems across government. Now, some of the accounting officers, they went ahead. Recently, I saw 39 local governments creating personnel obligations beyond the approved or cleared establishment by the Ministry of Public Service clearance, and now they were transferring the financial consequences to the Treasury. This is not acceptable. I briefed His Excellency the President because he's the one who, sometime back, about 1.5 or 2 years ago, wanted to remove people who had been recruited without clearance. He asked the Attorney General whether government has an obligation over such people. But for the spirit of good governance and ensuring that we don't create unnecessary disruptions, we begged the President that we take on those people. And those are the people we provided the money for. Now the same local governments went ahead and recruited the people, either without any clearance or beyond the clearance. The public service has cleared 20, you recruit 80. I met these people one by one. We met in a room at finance and I asked each of them to explain. They failed to explain. Those few who explained themselves were cleared. Those who failed to explain themselves have been relieved of the responsibility of accounting, being accounting officers. We shall double check to ensure that natural justice prevails fully, and no one going forward will be an accounting officer when you have created a wage shortfall in that manner I've already explained. The Charter also establishes an automatic administrative sanction framework, and the breaches established through audit, inspection, or ministry review will attract defined consequences, including withholding subsequent releases, disciplinary action for off-system commitments, and removal of poorly prepared projects from the public investment plan. I now turn to the budget execution for this year. Government is implementing a number of reforms to strengthen budget discipline, credibility, and accountability across planning, budgeting, and execution. I will highlight a few of them, about 8 of them. The first one is counterpart funding. As you know, counterpart funding has been one of the causes of delayed implementation of projects. Sometimes because we start projects and we are not providing the budget for counterpart funding. But in some instances, we have provided the budget, but on the discretion of the accounting officer, you turn that budget into other things, to spend on other things. Now, on the advice of His Excellency the President, counterpart funding going forward is now a state obligation. So the counterpart funding has been centralized under the Treasury Operations Department at the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. The MDAs, which are implementing the projects, must submit their requirements quarterly for the release of this counterpart funding. It's now treated like a debt. It's part of debt now. It will be budgeted by you, but managed by the Treasury. The second one is joint procurement and the rollout of the enhanced electronic government procurement. Going forward, common user items, including vehicles, ICT, equipment, and tires for vehicles, are going to be procured through a national framework agreement led by the responsible ministry. In this case, the Ministry of Works and ICT, respectively. The third one is on the payroll and human capital management system. All of votes should have transitioned to the HCM system by June this year. So salaries must be paid by the 28th of the month on this system. It's very unfair for you not to pay our colleagues in the government timely, simply because you have traveled. I know a certain colleague of mine who doesn't, perpetually is paying late because he is in South Africa, is somewhere. Please, we all go somewhere, but we do our work. Why do you move with the payment system? There is an undersecretary, there is another director, there is someone. Pay people on time, especially our pensioners, our colleagues who worked before us. You are making them suffer a lot, paying them so late, and prevail over your human resource personnel. There is also tax compliance and local currency contracting. The taxes and NSSF contributions should be remitted by the 28th day when you have paid. Except for missions abroad and specified development partner arrangements, government contracts should be denominated in Uganda shillings. The next one is on the parish development model. This program has entered the sustainability phase now. This year, we have, of course, the 1.059 trillion shillings allocated for PDM. Local governments should strengthen recovery of the money for PDM. The recovery period is underway. The grace period is over for those who received the earlier remittances of PDM. So we should recover this money through the Wendy application. And please note that there are no charges to the beneficiaries to access the system. There have been reports in some areas where the local officials are asking for charges. There are no charges. People should access and pay. The other one is public investment management. All of us should use the project management and reporting tools on the integrated bank of projects. The 28 exited projects must upload their completion and evaluation reports this quarter. There are some 28 projects which we exited this year. The responsible accounting officers should ensure that they upload their completion and evaluation reports this quarter. The next one, colleagues, is the stopping of budget execution games. We are not going to tolerate manipulation of warrants, reallocations, which have not been sanctioned, commitments, releases, or any other budget processes for private gain, or in areas where we try to circumvent the approved priorities. There have been some games which we have been monitoring. You put money in a certain area, wage, they appropriate it. Then you come and you work with our people, and you are moving it to nanny wage, to travel. These things, please be careful with them going forward. And then finally, the sanction is now. Non-compliance with the budget execution circular may result in non-renewal of your contract as accounting officer or withholding releases, which we painfully do, but we don't want to do, because we are punishing the service delivery person, the person who is supposed to benefit from the service. Then we are also going to ensure that the following are noted. Local governments, please pay councillors on time. Local government accounting officers, pay councillors on time. The money you have it. Collect local revenue exclusively through the Integrated Revenue Administration System, IRAS, and remit the required surpluses to the consolidated fund. Remit the money to the consolidated fund. Missions abroad, please implement the economic and commercial diplomacy strategy with measurable results. And with the results, we know them. Bring investors, promote our exports, open markets for Uganda, and bring tourists to Uganda. They are very clear deliverables. Don't account for economic and commercial diplomacy funds in terms of workshops held, travels to other cities. You traveled there, but what did you get? There must be some tangible result. Some tangible. And missions abroad, please, whenever you have money which is not spent in a year, please return that money to the consolidated fund. Stop these requests for spending that money beyond the appropriation period. You're going to bring yourself a problem. Public universities harmonize leaving out allowances for government-sponsored students and submit the required data to the ministry by September 15th this year. Regional referral hospitals strengthen regional monitoring to maintain service standards and ensure availability of staff in the hospitals. Human resource gaps. Where critical gaps exist, coordinate with the Ministry of Public Service as well as the relevant line ministry to address them within approved structures and the wage provisions. As I conclude, colleagues, this year's budget comes at a time when important reforms are taking effect. These reforms are not an additional burden. We are not just burdening you. They are means by which we protect the credibility of the budget and ensure that the resources entrusted to us translate into better roads, better schools and hospitals, more jobs for Ugandans, and greater wealth for our people of Uganda. I therefore call upon every one of us in this room and those who are online and beyond, having signed the Budget Discipline and Accountability Charter, internalize it, please. But also internalize the Budget Execution Circular and ensure that we adhere to these few rules to the dot. We call upon you to lead your institution with professionalism, integrity, and discipline, but also a sense of urgency. We would like to see the entire government of Uganda become effective. Some people have written books that there are pockets of effectiveness in Uganda, that some places are working, but others are not working. You are the head of the institution. You arrive in office at 9. That institution will be starting work at 9. Without any doubt. That's what we are saying. The Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development on our part, we commit on the following. And please hold us accountable. Number 1, timely release of the budget. Number 2, prompt review of warrants. Number 3, continued support during the execution of the budget. If there are any technical challenges you have, please contact the ministry to resolve them, including some of the issues which are causing a lot of burden to you in terms of implementing the budget. There could be appropriation mistakes, let us see them, but devoid of budget games and the execution games. And failure to do so relieve us of the responsibility to do that work. That's the only way government is going to improve. I wish everybody success in execution of the budget. Thank you very much.
Wano ku mukutu the Business Trends Uganda tweyongera okuwa obweyamu nti tujja kutuusaako amawulire gonna okwetoloola Uganda wamu ne Uganda yonna. Nsigadde nze Badru Kigozi ku kamera nkoze n'omwami Isma Kazibwe ku mukutu the Business Trends kw'oba weekuumira kwokka. Ssaabasajja Kabaka awangaale.